Hello, Professor. Our project is hashing algorithms. We're Group 4, consisting of myself, Storm Sand, Steve Hartman, Marco Omana Solano. And let's get started with what a hashing algorithm is. So, a hashing algorithm is a function that converts any size input into a fixed string output. It's called a hash or a hash value. It acts as a digital fingerprint. And hashes are one-way function, meaning that uh, a hash cannot be reversed. You input a hash, and it cannot be reversed the other way to get the original input. And then any change in the input is going to create a drastically different hash. Why does hashing matter? Hashing is deterministic, meaning the same input gives the same output. So this can help in verifying file integrity and securing passwords, and it's also used in downloads and digital evidence and computer forensics. And it's also used in Bitcoin, like the blockchain uses a proof of work concept that involves hashing, just like this. Some security properties. To keep a hash secure, you need to have pre-image resistance, which means you can't find the original input from the hash. The hash can't be reversed, like we said earlier. Second, pre-image resistance, meaning you can't find the different input with the same hash. And then collision resistance, which is two inputs having the same hash value. This is You can find this happening in older algorithms, but in more modern algorithms, it protects against this because it uses a much larger bit size for the hashing algorithm. And then hashing algorithm evolution. The outdated ones, as I stated earlier, are MD5 and SHA-1. Researchers have found collision vulnerabilities in these algorithms, meaning that they found an input that produces the same hash, which then no longer makes the algorithm secure. There's no way to prove integrity that way. Some current secure hashing algorithms that we currently use are SHA-2 and SHA-3. These have no known vulnerabilities and no known collision vulnerabilities found. I'm sure that will change one day as our computational power becomes stronger, but for now they're secure. And then some password hashing things that we see is bcrypt, scrypt, argon2. Hashing and future threats. Hashes can be attacked with brute force or collisions. So this has been a problem with quantum computing because quantum computers can do a lot more brute attacks at once. They're a lot faster at doing these, and they can just increase the power behind the brute force attack. So older algorithms like the MD5 and SHA-1 fall victim to quantum computing. That's why we need to make sure for our future and current algorithms that they are resistant to this and use a large enough bit size that it's quantitatively impossible to break. Then we'll move on to password hashing and overview.
All right. When using such algorithms to store passwords, salting the hash is strongly recommended to add another layer of security. A salt is a unique random value that makes it more difficult for attackers to actually crack the password. Because salting adds a random value to the password before hashing, each password gets a unique hash value, making it harder for attackers to carry out rainbow attacks efficiently. When looking at the hashing algorithms themselves, bcrypt, BBK-DF2, Argon2, and SHA-256 are among the most popular. Next slide, please. So, bcrypt is a hashing algorithm that uses the blowfish cipher, which is what the B in bcrypt actually stands for. This algorithm is designed to be slow on newer hardware to defend against brute force attacks, which was actually a weakness for the standalone crypt function. Luckily, salting is built into bcrypt, which only hardens its security. And although it was mentioned that bcrypt is pretty slow, it is important to mention that the end user only experience a 1 to 2 second delay when using this algorithm as to balance security and usability. Next slide, please. PBK DF2, also known as password-based key derivation function 2, is a hashing algorithm that, like bcrypt, it takes advantage of salting, but also applies a pseudo-random function multiple times to the password, which attackers will also need to apply multiple times if looking to actually crack it. Because of the many times it applies a pseudo-random function, This algorithm is recommended to be only be used on devices that don't rely on a battery, such as a desktop computer, as the many iterations of the pseudo-random function can negatively impact battery life. Next slide. Now, going into Argon 2. Argon 2 was actually the winner of the password hashing competition and consists of three different types: Argon 2D, Argon 2I, and Argon 2ID. Argon 2D provides resistance to GPU-based password cracking, whereas Argon 2I defends against side channel attacks. And Argon 2ID, on the other hand, is a hybrid of both Argon 2D and Argon 2I, making it a more popular choice. Argon 2 is considered to be highly configurable in relation to memory, time, and parallelism, but it is recommended that it be tuned over time to keep up with newer hardware advancements. Next slide. Now, the fourth hashing algorithm that I wanted to cover is SHA-256, or Secure Hashing Algorithm 256. It was designed by the National Security Agency and published by the National Institute of Standards and Technology in 2001, and is among several versions of the SHA-2 family. In short, it processes passwords in 5 to 12-bit blocks through a compression function to produce a final hash. And while it offers good performance and resistance to collisions and pre-image attacks, its speed is also what makes it more vulnerable to brute force and rainbow table attacks compared to algorithms like bcrypt and Argon 2. To mitigate these weaknesses, salting is recommended to ensure unique hashes even for passwords with the same plaintext. And I'll pass it on to Steve to cover best practices.
So best practice best practices, the kind of takeaways from all this information. The general golden rule is never store passwords in plain text. Along with that, you could also add not using a weak password. So like a common one would be just password. And then in terms of the algorithm themselves, you want something that's both strong and slow. And you also want to use a salt. As said previously, MD5 and SHA-1, those two are both old, kind of deprecated. Not only do they have vulnerabilities, but they also are very fast, which makes brute forcing possible. Next slide. For salting, this is a separate value, a separate unique value that you add to each user password. The one caveat with that is if multiple users have the same password, this allows you to still have that security because each one will be separate and distinct. Along with that is the pepper. Whereas the salt and the password, those are stored together, the pepper is actually stored in a separate location, which just adds another layer of strength hardening to the password. The combination of these prevents rainbow attacks as well as pre-computed hash attacks. Next slide. In terms of closing takeaways for you guys, hashing provides data and identity security. So your data integrity and then also your authenticity, those are kind of your bread and butter. That's really what we're talking about from a high level perspective. And the formula is strong algorithms with salting and then also slow processing. So if you hit all three of those, you should be good to go. In terms of looking forward, in terms of evolution, considering the quantum computing and also modern hardware. As said previously, Argon 2ID, that's probably your best algorithm to use going forward because it's not only configurable, but it's also designed to take into account that quantum computing. So things like GPUs, multi-core CPUs, that'll still work and that'll still provide security. Next slide. This class has been very informative, very helpful. We learned a lot. Thank you for everything, Professor. Have a great summer.